all of a sudden, I look up and I'm no longer looking at Amy. I'm looking at the sky. Hi guys, it's Cash. Welcome back to my channel for my first ever story time. I titled this story time The Worst Day of High School because this was literally probably, out of all 4 years, this was definitely my worst day of high school. I really didn't even want to go back after this day. So I think in my high school, we had even and odd days. So I believe that this day was like an even day. And I was in such a good mood because I loved my even days. I think my first class of that day, it was like my computer class. And my teacher was cool, but she happened not to be there that day. So it's like, you know, you're excited. Sometimes you be happy when you have a substitute, but without her being there, it was like, okay, whatever, it's going to be a chill day because she made the class fun. So, you know, when we get in there, everybody has like, at my school, I think they probably do this at every school, but when we used to have a substitute, everybody will always like sneak and bring their friends in. And most of the substitutes didn't care. The substitute that we had that day, she didn't care. I think she took attendance, but she didn't even bother to go back and check the amount of people we had in classes. So I don't think she really cared. So everybody has their extra people in there, but it's a chill day. So it's the beginning of the end. This is the dumbest thing I could have did. So I had to go to the bathroom. So I left my bag in the classroom and I left my wallet in my bag. I usually wouldn't even bring my wallet to school, but that day I had to go to work afterwards and like nobody would pick me up. I was living with somebody I really didn't want to be living with around that time, so we didn't even talk. So I would usually just take my bag. It had my work clothes and everything. So usually what I would do is I would bring my work clothes with me to school and then I would go to work from school. So my work clothes were in there, my work shoes, and my wallet. Now I think it was on like $60 cash in my wallet. It wasn't that much money, but all of my debit cards, credit cards, work cards, everything was in that damn bag. And I don't know why I didn't think to at least take my wallet, but you'll see why. So when I get back from the bathroom, you know, like all the boys in the class are looking at me, but they're not saying anything. So I'm like, whatever, they're just being weird. So when I opened up my bag, I was trying to put, I think maybe my perfume or lotion, whatever, back in the bag, and I didn't see my wallet. So I'm asking all the boys in the class, mind you, this is why I say like, I mean, I can't really be mad at them because, you know, people like no snitching, but I'm like, I'm a girl. Y'all could have told me who took it. So I'm like looking around, I'm like asking everybody, I'm like, hey, like, you know, did anybody see my wallet? The boys, they were just like, oh, nah, and they all turned around. So I'm like, okay. So nobody's telling me anything. So then the girl tapped me and she was like, yeah, somebody came in here and sat in your seat and they did go through your bag. Now in my mind, I'm thinking like, damn, why would y'all tell them to leave my bag alone? But I wasn't really friends like that with nobody in this class, so I couldn't expect nobody to have my bag. So I asked the teacher and I'm like, hey, did you know the boy's name who came in here and sat down? And she was like, no, you know, like I didn't know him. Like I thought he was a part of the class. I didn't know. So I'm like, you know, you can't really, she was an older substitute lady. So I'm like, you can't even really get mad at her. She doesn't sub at this school often enough to know all the students anyway. So I was mad. So I just asked her, could I go to the office? So when I went to the office, they told me to go speak to the police officer. She was so pretty. I don't want to say her real name. We're just gonna call her Officer Garcia. So I'm telling Officer Garcia, I'm like, hey, somebody stole my wallet out of my bag. And I'm just like, could you guys at least like run the cameras outside of the classroom to see who like came in the class? And now I kind of understand where she was coming from, but when she told me this back then, I went off. She told me that they could run the cameras, but even if they do run the cameras, whoever came in and out the classroom, they can't really pull him out of class and say anything to him because they're accusing him with no proof. Like the one girl who said that she seen him go in my bag, she doesn't even know his name. So they didn't really want to accuse him of doing anything. I understand where they were coming from now, but back then I'm like, you know, I don't care how I was going to look to his parents. He went in my bag, so y'all need to call him. And they were like, oh, but we can't call him, you know, just, they was like, it's sad that it happened, but, you know, like next time, take your bag with you. And I was saying, I was like, you know, y'all can't call him, but if I happen to see him and I say anything to him, I'm going to get in trouble and you guys are going to be mad. And they were like, do not say anything to that boy. And only like one of the male coaches understood where I was coming from. He was like, you know, if he does have her wallet and she sees him, he has to give her wallet. And if she flashes out, like nobody can really be mad. But in the same breath, she was telling me, she was like, if you approach that boy in a violent way, you're getting suspended. And I was like, one way or another, I'm going to get my wallet, whether I have to get suspended for it or, you know, y'all call them. One way or another, I'm gonna get my wallet. Now, listen to me. This is not the way to think. Like, I got myself in so much trouble this day. Half of it wasn't even related to the wallet. It was just stupid. So, I'm pissed off. I talk shit about my wallet. Oh, I can't cuss on here. Oh my God. So, I was mad. I was talking about my wallet for the rest of the period. So, the girl ended up telling me what he looked like, and she ended up coming with me, and she pointed him out, and she was like, that's the boy who sat in your seat. So, I see him, and he looked at me like a deer in headlights. So, I was like, so you knew that was my wallet? And he was just like, I was like, so you got my wallet? He's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And he runs. I'm like, oh my God. So he runs out the cafeteria. And by the time I come out there, the coach who had, he was already like in a group of boys. So the coach was just like, this one coach, he was so sweet. He actually had my back, but he was just like, he was mad at people in the office because he was like, she done said something to the boy, which was dumb of me. But now he done ran off and threw my wallet to Lord knows who or in the trash. Because people would give stuff to their friends. Like, if you know you're going to be in the office, people would give whatever they had on them to their friends so that when the office searches you, they don't have it. So now, if they search you and you don't have it, what can anybody really say? If they don't have you on camera taking it, then what? So I cursed him out. And it was so ghetto. I really cursed him out. And this is not smart either, because if that boy would have swung on me, that would have been my fault, and I would have still got in trouble. But I was mad or whatever. So I had talked to the police officer, and she was just like, look, you are on thin ice. You need to just go sit down and like shut up. Don't say anything to this boy for the rest of the day, or you're gonna get suspended. I'm still going off. I don't want to hear it, but I just go to lunch. So this is where the real problem starts. So at lunch, I sat with a group of like pretty cool girls, and I had one of my best friends at the time. We had lunch together. Now, this best friend, I think, does she need a name? We're gonna call her Jayla. So Jayla was friends with two other girls that I wasn't really a fan of like that, but because they were her friends, I always said that I was gonna be, you know, mutual, respectful. I just wasn't really too fond of being their friends. One of the girls, we're just gonna say she played basketball. She didn't actually play basketball, so don't go back looking at John I's basketball team. She was one of those people that, honestly, I'm saying that you have to be violent, but she was one of those people who would just talk and she could never back it up. And that's why nobody liked her, because she was always saying disrespectful things. But then anytime somebody would say something to her, she would say, I don't want to fight you. I'm focused on basketball. But it's like, in the same breath, if you're going to be focused on basketball, be focused on basketball, because you keep arguing with me, you're going to miss a few games. Oh my gosh. This is the way I thought back then. I'm way calmer now, but back then, me and her, we just never got along. And honestly, I think I was a junior when this all took place. But my freshman year, me and her had an issue, and I asked her, like, do you want to fight? And she said no. So I was like, you know what? Because she said she doesn't want to fight, I'm not going to bully her. I'm not going to keep bothering her. She doesn't want to fight, so we're going to leave it where it's at. Her other friend, the one that I actually ended up getting into a fight with this day, we're going to name her Amy. Was new to the school. She had just got there our junior year, but she had a cousin named Anna, and Anna had been there all 4 years. I loved Anna before the situation. Anna was always so sweet. We never had a problem. I don't even remember how we became friends, but me and Anna were cool. Anna was one of the sweetest girls ever, but Amy was different. And this is where I messed up at. None of the other girls, we sat with about like 6 to 8 girls at lunch. None of the other girls ever talked to her. And I was just like, you know, like, that's so rude. And nobody ever took the time out of their day to learn her name. Nobody would ever call her Amy. Everybody just called her Anna's cousin. So one day I sat down at lunch and I was just like, oh, you know what? You're really pretty. This is just to show y'all how she acted. I was like, you're really pretty. I like your hair. At this point, I was in like my transitioning phase of going natural. So my hair really was not it. She looked me dead in my face and was like, yeah, I would compliment you, but you know, like, look at your hair. And I was like, oh, I was like caught off guard, because I'm like, girl, no, you didn't. She really ate me up that day. I was so embarrassed. And from that point forward, she just did not like me. And I never understood why. The other friend never could give me a reason why she didn't like me. But my whole thing was, you know, just because we sit together at lunch, we don't have to like each other, but just don't say anything to me. Amy went out of her way every single day to find something slick to say to me. And she would get mad at me because I would be talking to the other girls and she would jump in and say something rude and disrespectful. And I would tell her, I'm not talking to you. Like, not to be disrespectful, but I don't even know you. I tried to get to know you. You were being rude, so I don't know you. Why you keep jumping in? She would get mad, start yelling, just doing the most. So I would just ignore her And it's childish of me, but I used to like kind of take pride in seeing her mad. Like when she would say something slick to me, I'd be like, oh, if you don't like me, why do you care? And she would just blow up, and I would do it every time. Don't do that. I'm older now, so I realized that wasn't right. But back then, I thought it was hilarious. That day, I had came and I had sat down with the other girls at lunch, and I was telling them what happened. Amy was on the other side, and she was like trying to figure out what happened. But I'm like, you know what? I already don't like you, and I don't have patience for it today. But so when she was talking to me, I just ignored her. So I was just talking to the other girls about it. So she ended up hearing what happened with the wallet, and she was just like laughing and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? Whatever. I told one of the other girls that I was gonna go outside. So we all went outside. Outside of John and I, like in the courtyard area, we used to have like these big cinder block type circle things, like a bush on the inside. You're gonna see why this is important later on. So the bush on the inside, John and I was just nasty. So like the bushes on the inside, sometimes we would have like rats running out of them. And it was just like, the bush was just nasty. But everybody wouldn't touch the bush, they would just sit on like the cinder block. I went outside with the other girls, and they were closer friends than I was. So they sat on the other block, and I sat right here, and they were just giving me my time to think of it. Eventually, my friend Jayla and Amy, she came out with Amy. So now I'm sitting there, my friend Jayla, I'm crying. I'm sad, crying. It was just so embarrassing. Because I'm still mad about the wallet, and there's literally nothing I can do now. So I'm talking to Jayla about it, and here goes Amy. Amy says to me, you're so dumb. Why would you even leave your bag in the class? Granted, this is true, but me and you don't get along. So I was like, yeah, Amy, I understand where you're coming from, but stop talking to me. Simple as that. Just don't talk to me. We don't like each other. You've made it clear that you don't like me, and I definitely don't like you. Why are you talking to me? I'm getting mad thinking about the situation all over again. So she's still talking. She's like, don't get mad at me because you're a dumb bitch. I was like, oh, okay. I respect it. So then I was like, bro, like, shut the fuck up. So so my friend Jayla is like, you know what, bye, Trey, I'm gonna leave. So Jayla gets up and she grabs Amy, and she's just like, oh, I'm not going anywhere. This dumbass bitch yelling at me because she lost her wallet. I was like, ooh, okay. So she just keeps talking, so I take off my glasses. Okay, I'm not promoting violence. Do not fight. There was so many other ways that I could have handled the situation, but I was already pissed off about the wallet, so I did take my anger out on her, and it was wrong, but back then I was not thinking clearly. I took off my glasses, and I was like, okay, Amy, do you want to fight? Amy like, yeah, bitch, we can fight. So she's like, let me tie my shoe first. So I'm like, okay. While she's tying her shoe, she starts screaming, you dumb bitch, and like she's drawing attention. And the way our high school was, whether you fought or not, if you get into like an altercation with somebody and you happen to like interrupt the other students, you're getting suspended. No questions asked. You're getting suspended. So I'm like, why are you yelling? You trying to draw attention so the APs can come? Because we were closer to the gym, but the APs were like right next to the office. So if you start yelling, they're gonna hear you, and we're not gonna fight, but we're still gonna get suspended. So she's like, yup, dumbass bitch. Yup, dumbass bitch. So I hit her. The worst thing I could have possibly did was hit this girl, because we started fighting. So we're fighting, and we're fighting next to the bushes. And I'm not gonna lie, we're both standing up, we're both fighting. We were both doing a good job. So we're fighting. Now, mind y'all, I'm very clumsy. All of a sudden, I look up, and I'm no longer looking at Amy. I'm looking at the sky. Why are me and Amy in the bushes fighting? And I'm just like, oh my God. So I'm like, damn, did I fall in the bushes? Like, how did we end up in the bushes? So I look up and I'm automatically embarrassed, because like all you see is like all the freshmen recording the fight. And it was just so embarrassing. So now I'm trying to get up out the bush, and the APs, they're already over here, because John and I give them this. All of their coaches deserve a raise because they move fast. So the coaches are like breaking up the fight now, and the swim coach, like, very strong lady, she grabbed me and she pulled me out the bush, and she was like, what are you guys doing? And I'm just like, I'm going off. So Amy's like acting like she want to get across the APs, and my thing is, the calmest way for you to really still fight somebody, if the APs are right there, you have to pretend like you're still okay. So Amy's hollering, oh bitch, da da da. So she jumps over the AP. So the swim coach, she already let me go. She's like, you know, like, come on, we're gonna go to the office. But Amy's still yelling. So I told the swim coach, I said, yeah, let me grab my glasses. So when she thought I was going to grab my glasses, I got past her and I went and hit the girl again. This was so stupid. So now the swim coach she like grabs me and she's like, no, you're going to the office for real now. So she grabs me and she like pulling me to the office. When we get in the office, the cheer coach is looking at me and she's like, what did you do? My favorite AP, she was in there, and thank God for her being in there because she actually helped me out. But I ended up looking and I turned around and the police officer, Officer Gonzalez, was behind me. And she was pissed. She was like, you did that on purpose. You purposely went out there and got into a fight because of the wallet. And I told you not to do that. And then she was like a Hispanic woman and she was more so lighter skinned. So you look and like right here is blue. Now I'm like, what the hell happened to her face? So she was already really mad, which I can completely understand because she was a gorgeous woman and she had a big bruise on her face. So she just went into her office. She didn't even want to deal with neither one of us anymore. So they took me into the back office and I sat there and I was just, like being quiet because I'm like, at this point, there's nothing you can say because you're getting suspended. So I hit a girl, she's out there yelling or whatever, but they put her in a separate office. The basketball coach at the time, he comes in and he's just like, hey, you got into a fight, so you are going to get suspended. But they had this new rule where if you and the person you got into a fight with could talk it out, you will be able to get less days. So instead of getting 10 days for fighting you, if you and the person were able to talk it out, y'all will only get 5. So I was like, okay, whatever. I really don't want to talk to her, but he was like, at the same time though, you don't want 10 days your junior year of high school because you could easily mess up being able to graduate because you're out of school for fighting. So he was like, you know what, y'all are going to go in the office and y'all are going to talk with what should I name her? Mrs. Black. He's like, you're going to go in the office and you guys are going to have a mediation with Mrs. Black so that nobody gets suspended. Well, nobody gets 10 days. He said, okay. He said, if you go in here and fight, it's going to be worse. Don't go in here and put your hands on nobody. You sit down and you listen to the other person. So at this point, I'm already calm and I'm more so sad about the wallet than mad because me getting that wallet stolen really messed up my full day because I couldn't even go to work that day. I had to call my manager and call out. It was just, you don't want to tell them that you got into a fight, so you're already embarrassed. And he's just thinking I'm just calling out just to call out. We go in Mrs. Black office and I see her, Amy and Anna are sitting like on one side of the desk and they make me sit on the other side. So when I walked in, I thought it was weird that Anna was there, but I was like, me and Anna never had a problem, which we did then because I had 4 cousins. So Anna was sitting there, but I never thought anything of it because, I was like, I don't have no problem with Anna. We're starting a mediation. So I'm trying to talk to Amy, but as I'm talking to Amy, she's flipping the whole story. She told the people that I was a wild animal and I attacked her for no reason. But thank God that Mrs. Black was in there because I was explaining to Mrs. Black, like, yeah, I was wrong for putting my hands on you, but you're in my face, you're yelling at me, you're calling me out of my name. I take stuff like that, I take it as you want to get physical. And I really shouldn't, and fighting is never the answer, but that's how I took it. Anna was not there. Throughout this whole fight, Anna was not there. Anna didn't even have their lunch. So as me and Amy are having a conversation, Anna keeps jumping in. And I was going to say something, but Mrs. Black beat me to it. Mrs. Black was like, you weren't there, were you? And she said, no. And she said, so why are you here? Like, go get to your class. And not to be disrespectful, you really do need to go get to your class because you're over here picking sides about a situation that you don't even know happened. Like, granted, that's your cousin, but your cousin was wrong. I'm sorry, she was wrong. She didn't have to say anything to me. So she was mad, but they probably escorted her out the office. So now Amy is in here turning on the waterworks. She's like, oh, you attacked me for no reason. I didn't even say anything to you. You were mad about your wallet. And I was like, thank God Mrs. Black said something. Mrs. Black was like, we can't just sit here and say like, oh, that she's an animal for attacking you. Because yes, she was wrong for putting her hands on you. But you were also wrong for, just antagonizing her already knowing that she was in a bad situation. So me and her, we never squashed it, but we both came to the conclusion that both of us were wrong and we were just going to agree to disagree. I did the 5 days and I came back. These 5 days flew by because this is quite illegal, but my job, they knew I was suspended. So they just were letting me come in early. So I was still going to work. I was having to walk there because the person I lived with, they were not driving me to work. They took my phone, so I couldn't order an Uber. I was 17 getting my phone taken. So embarrassing. I was walking to work, so the 5 days had passed really fast. I was back to school the next week. So the next week, I'm like, you know what? We're going to turn over a new leaf. You already got suspended. You done embarrassed yourself. Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention. When I got home, the fight was everywhere. All of the Palm Beach schools fight pages had posted it. It was so embarrassing. All you see is me and this girl in the bushes rolling around like two damn idiots. Mind you, those bushes were nasty, disgusting. People used to do all types of things in those bushes. It was disgusting. People were in the comments, like, they were like, y'all don't have no home training. And it was really that. It was super embarrassing because we really didn't have no home training. Throughout the days that I was spending, my best friend, she was texting me, but she wasn't texting me that often. And I'm not gonna say that I was mad at her, because it wasn't her fault, because she did try to tell Jayla to just like walk away and leave it alone. Oh, not Jayla. Okay. So throughout the days that I was suspended, my best friend, like the best friend at the time, not my best friend now, she barely texted me, but I understood it because I'm like, you know what, we're both your friends. You don't want to choose sides. All right, okay. And then I realized when me and her were going to the office, I seen my best friend arguing with somebody else, but I didn't know why they were arguing, and I didn't really have on my glasses, so everything was blurry. So when I get back to school, you know, I'm like, you know what, we're gonna have a good day. You're not gonna get in trouble. You just gonna have to be calm today. Anything that happens, you just gotta let it slide. Because if I would have fought her that same day again when I got back to school, they probably would have tried to expel me, because now it's looking like I have no self-control. So on my way to the middle building to go to my first class, Amy's cousin stops me, and I'm thinking, like, you know, me and her were friends before the situation, so I'm thinking she's gonna come at me like respectful, like, yeah, you know, we can't be friends anymore, but you know, whatever. She stops me and says, oh, so did you call the police on my cousin? I said, excuse me? Like, she was like basically trying to press me, and like I told her, how am I gonna call the police on somebody I hit first? And if I did call the police, like, what were you gonna do about it? Like, realistically, if I did call the police, then what? And that's not the way to think, but that's how I was taking it at that time, because like, you're coming up to me aggressively, you're trying to confront me in front of people, so you want to put on a show, like, get out my face, whatever. So I guess if she's seen that she wasn't gonna punk me, she just walked away. So I had went back to the office, and I had told her coach, I was like, look, because me and this coach, this is technically snitching, but oh well. Me and the coach, we were cool, but I was telling him, I like you as a coach, and I like your basketball player. Tell her not to say anything else to me, or this is gonna go downhill. Tell her not to say anything else. So he's just like, you know what, you guys just really need to let it go. Like, you already did the suspension. You don't want to get suspended again. Like, you're about to be a senior. Like, grow up. And he was right. He calmed me down, and I went back to class. So fast forward throughout the day, everything was cool. But then when I got to lunch, I happened to see the girl that I fought, and she was sitting at the table. This was a bad decision, but I did it anyway. So I asked her, I said, you told your cousin that I pressed charges on you? So now she's just like, you know what? I'm going to walk away because you're being aggressive again. And I was like, yep, real aggressive. Go lie to the office again. And it was so dumb because literally I just shouldn't have said nothing to her. But like I told her, I said, go lie to the office again. Lo and behold, the next class period, I get called to the office. So I'm like, okay, so Officer Gonzalez is telling me, she was like, you know, when you guys got into a fight, I'm not sure exactly which one of you guys hit me, but one of you guys kicked me in my eye. So I'm like, oh shit, shit hit the fan, because it's one thing for us to fight, but you know, once you hit an administrator, especially like a school police officer, you're in trouble. So Officer Gonzalez is like, you know what, I'm not gonna press charges on you guys, because she could have pressed charges on both of us. She was like, I'm not gonna press charges on you guys, but you guys are gonna I think she took it to like the school police, or I'm not sure exactly what she did, but we both ended up getting in like a lot of trouble. We both had to go do community service hours. We had to attend a class, and mind you, like the little class, it was like a small, like 2-hour anger management class, I think. The class that we had to attend, we were attending it together. And what was even more embarrassing is the man asked, he said, so why are you here? I said, fighting in school. He said, so was it worth it? I was like, yeah. And he was like, who did you fight? And I pointed to her because she was in front of me. Because back then, I really thought it was worth it. And it wasn't. I just didn't like her. She didn't like me. But it really wasn't worth it now looking back at it. Because I could have really gotten in trouble for that. So it was just pointless. But here goes the part of the story that to this day still aggravates me. So the basketball star, I don't think I gave her a name. I'm gonna call her Maya, and this is not any of the Mayas that went to John I. That's not even her name. I'm just gonna call her Maya because that's the easiest for me to remember. So, the girl Maya, the basketball star who said she did not want to fight the whole time, me and her had problems before, but this is like 3 years. This is 3 years ahead. what is your problem? You sit around me every day and you don't say anything to me and I don't say anything to you. So you really shouldn't still have a problem at this point. How we ended up in the bushes is Miss Maya pushed us in the bushes. That's why her and my best friend were arguing, because my best friend was like, you know, why would you push them in the bushes if they're having a one-on-one fight? Why would you jump in that? When I found out, when I got back from suspension, that it was her that pushed me in those bushes, I was pissed. I was pissed because my whole thing was, you've had ample opportunity to tell me that you had a problem, and you never said that you had a problem, but now that I'm fighting this girl, you're gonna push me into a bush, a nasty ass bush at that. Oh my God, I wish I still had the videos of the rats so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Oh, from that point forward, she started avoiding me like the plague because I was looking for her. It wasn't right, but I was gonna catch her eventually. But before I could catch her, at lunch, so how do I say this? I'm not trying to be mean because you never know what someone's going through at home, but she was one of those girls, I wouldn't say that she was a bully, but she would like antagonize people, and then when they would react, she would pretend like she didn't understand why. Especially like, I think it was with everybody. Like she argued with men, females, teachers, everybody. But one day, she was, I don't want to say he or she because I'm not sure exactly what their pronouns are now, but I'm going to call them. She was bullying someone that we sat at the table with because of their sexuality. I think that's what it was. She would mask it as different things. She would always say it was over a seat. So anytime they would sit somewhere, she would just walk up to them and, oh, this is my seat. This is my seat. So the person that she was doing it to, they're a very sweet person, very beautiful. Like, I always felt bad for them, but I was like, you know what? I would just tell her to leave them alone, but I never felt that it was my place to get up and like really confront her about it because I just didn't think it was my place. I probably should have, looking back at it, because I would have wanted somebody to do it for me, but I didn't. Eventually, like fast forward maybe like a month or two after I got back from suspension, the person that she would bully, they were walking in the cafeteria and they were mad. So I'm like, hey friend, like what's wrong? Like, why are you mad? And they grabbed me. Mind you, you never thought they would have been this strong because their voice was always soft, they were always sweet, but they grabbed me and they was like, move, get out my way, I'm gonna beat this bitch up. I said no. So my other friends, they were like, no, sit down, get out the way, like you don't have nothing to do with that, move, you just got back from suspension. So I moved out the way and I sat down. They proceeded to go over there and beat her ass. It was probably one of the craziest fights in the whole time I had been there. It was crazy, but I'm not gonna say that she deserved it, but because she had jumped in my fight, you know, a tiny piece of me, I was like, yeah, kick her again for me. But now that we're older, I realized that, first of all, take it from me, fighting in school is not the move. I could have got arrested and sent to an alternative school, for one. For two, who's to say that Maya couldn't have actually had a problem with me and knocked me out, and then I would just been getting jumped. So that's why I say don't fight in school and don't fight in general. If you're having a bad day and you're around somebody that you know you're not the coolest with, get away from them. And it's sad to say, but even if you have friends and they have friends that you don't too much get along with, you know, just listen to yourself. Speak to your friend and keep it pushing, because mixing friend groups is just sometimes a recipe for disaster. That will be the end of our story time. Thank you guys for coming. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time with my next video.